look at streamlining processes. Achieve savings, that's something we still hear a lot about. Reduction of spend and business costs, and managing and reporting against this service level agreement. I don't know whether you'd agree that it's not a definitive list, but there's some of the things that is in our job description. There's some of the things that a finance director or an operations director would expect to hear that you're doing. However, in my view, by 2030, I want to see a lot more that we're not getting savings targets. I don't want to hear that procurement are set a savings target, because that just creates friction in the business. That just creates volatility with us, trying to build relationships with internal clients. And I want to see a lot more that we're improving profit. I want to hear it's about operational excellence. I want to hear that we really are given the credit for supplier innovation and understanding market intelligence. I want to hear that we're reducing costs through productivity, but it's not a cost target. That we're also not just focusing on the 80% of spend with 20% of the suppliers, that we're also working on the tail spend, as they call it. In fact, I want to hear that we've eradicated a lot of that tail spend, those what they call one-time purchases. And I want us to embrace technology and think about it longer term, because at the moment it just gets done what they call piecemeal. It just gets done in a very imperfect way, and we buy something when we have the budget, when we're allowed to have the budget for it. We buy it when it becomes an absolutely essential item that we have to go and get, but it's not part of an integrated solution. And obviously I want us to be seen as value creators, adding value. So there's a summary of what I see for new procurement. Move from price, total cost of ownership, through profit. Some of us will be in those spaces now, and I want to be talking about value. Procurement, to me, is the only function that has to keep justifying itself. It has to keep saying, why are we here? Why have we got a procurement function? Can you keep telling me every month what you're doing, showing me some evidence? And the easiest thing we show people is price savings and reductions in budget. And I want to get away from that. We shouldn't have to keep doing that. No one else has to do that. The legal department don't have to keep justifying why they're there. Neither do HR. We shouldn't either. They're seen as business partners. That's where we should be. We should be driving innovation, and we should have the skills to do that. We don't want price cutters in the procurement function by 2030. We want innovators. We want talent coming into the function. We want to have eco-champions. If we're going to step into that sustainability and CSR space with our supply chains, we want to make sure that we've got people who understand that with our suppliers, our third parties. Yes, we want to continuous improvement, the Japanese refer to. I talk about productivity and efficiency. And yes, we are the centre of excellence for knowledge of market intelligence. We should be using Steeple and Porter to think about macro and microeconomics. What's happening in the world? What's going on in corners of the world that's going to have an impact on us and our business? We must be more business focused with our measurements, with our outcomes. We've already talked about harnessing and capturing new technology. What's right? There's a lot of technology out there, as I've said. Some of it, quite frankly, is glorified spreadsheets. Some of it is better, but some of it won't be around in a few years' time. That's how technology is. You all remember the dot-com bubble and a lot of companies jumped into that space and a lot of companies disappeared. So just because someone's got a great idea doesn't always mean it's going to be sustainable for the future. So who are going to be the winners in the technology race for the future? We should be more of a strategic function and improving and increasing our strategic relationships, what they call being at the top table. Understanding, I'm getting a lot of demand at the moment, excuse the pun, I'm getting a lot of requests at the moment from people who want to understand forecasting and demand planning. Again, it fits very well with that macro economics model. I want to see a big reduction in the last minute demands. The guys coming up to your table saying, it's urgent. Well, why is it urgent? Because we didn't budget for it last year. We didn't think we wanted it, right? So it's your fault. Well, that shouldn't be impacting on me, but it does tend to. I want to see an eradication of that. We need to be further upstream in the process, in the planning process, that we can avoid last minute urgent demands that are made to us. Just sign this. So analytics is a big area. I'm still astounded by the amount of companies who do not know what they spend. I'm not saying that's you. I'm sure you know exactly what you spend and with whom. But I'm still astounded to hear that buyers will go into meetings and there'll be a disagreement with the supplier on the annual spend. So real-time and accurate analytics is going to be something by 2030 where we'll be in a much stronger position. I'm still a believer in category management and segmentation, and I think the more you know about your spend, the better. I'm still a great believer in knowing what your expertise is in domains. So you can see there, it goes on to talk about talent and skills, collaboration and partnership, being more consultative with the business rather than being shy and hiding away in the business. So being located at the point of activity. I included this just to share with you. This was something that the CIPS, they do quite a lot of, they put together specialist knowledge groups. I think this was one in the legal sector. And they pulled together a group of, 10, 15, 20 people. And they came up with what their view of the future was. So it might be a little bit self-serving, because obviously they might be wanting to paint a picture for themselves that's bright and rosy. We get that. But they summarized it under 3 headings, which was people, process, and technology. So I don't think there's anything we haven't really covered there. But the good news for us is that we're still going to be around. We're still going to be wanted by 2030, albeit we need to be in a more strategic space, a more relationship space, working as a business partner. Some of you are coming into the profession, you're young enough to come in, and you see P2P, and you see some of the technology tools. So you don't have a history of everything was manual, everything was paper-based. Consequently, going forward, you'll just see now that the future is purchase to pay, that it is that digital tools exist, and there will be a move, there will be progression along those lines with technology. But the good news is, if we are smart enough and we're skilled enough and we're educated enough, we will move into a different aspect. I call that value creation. Maybe it's not called procurement anymore. So implementing change, we've talked about that. I'll just quickly say, will you be a disruptor? Will you be somebody, a good disruptor, a positive change agent? Or will you allow businesses and the world to disrupt you? And I'll just end with my summary. So this is what I think new procurement is. It's a bit like forecasting the South African weather. There's going to be some blue skies, some stormy days, unsettled and variable, more uncertainty and change is going to come our way. We don't know when it's going to happen. You don't always know when change is going to happen. But listen, if you're venturing into procurement's future, take an umbrella and wrap up safely.
All right, folks, don't forget that big box of KFC for a good evaluation. Yeah. Steve, we got a couple of questions, but there's one in particular that I'd like to have answered, and we'll pass the others on to you later. So someone in the audience has asked, Steve, in your lifetime experience as a CPO, how do you handle pressure from board members in trying to push their own agendas in the procurement process and still keep your job? The reality is, in the procurement space, ethics and abuse of powers are the real obstacles we face. But can you do that in like 30 to 60 seconds?
Sure. So I did keep my job. I know you think just because I'm standing here, he hasn't got a real job. But honestly, I did keep my job. And I guess the answer is gradually, and you have to do two things. You have to make it a business initiative. You have to paint the picture, not that it's self-serving, not that it's something procurement want to do just because I say so. You have to see it from their side. And the other thing is you need friends. You need to have friends in the business, other people to help you, to support you, what they call stakeholders and sponsors. If you don't have a sponsor who's, as they say, got your back, you will have people who take shots at you, who don't like. Strangely, I know this is hard to believe, not everybody likes me. I know. Not everybody likes procurement. So just because you know you're doing a great job, not everybody else will see it from your point of view. So get yourself a sponsor, get yourself somebody in the business that's got your back, and make the business see it from their point of view.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve. Good job.